The disgusting Last Supper at the Olympics and the backlash that followed, not a big deal. The fact that, well, women are getting the crap beat out of them in boxing, who cares? It turns out the Olympics are very popular, at least that's what the mainstream media says. There's just one problem. We did the research. And folks, we've got an exclusive. We think the Olympics ratings and viewership are bunk. We have been told, John, that these ratings are air to the moon. 70% increase over the last Olympics. People are flooding back to watch. No one cares about the woke. They love it. And what does this say right here? Ignore all that other stuff for a moment. If they sell as aggressively, so in other words, if best case scenario for NBC, break even. Hello folks, welcome back to the channel that is changing hearts and minds simply by telling the truth as best we can. Explaining entertainment, keeping you ahead of the culture curve is the job that we do here. And by golly, we love our jobs. John Trent, the editor-in-chief of thatparkplace.com, as well as the host of the Trent Report, is here with us today. John, how are you, sir?
Doing well. Always good to be back on the channel. Good to see you. How about yourself?
Doing well. And John, we're going to be talking about the Olympics today. It's not the typical forte that we endeavor to do, but guess what? When it comes down to entertainment, we do not divide, we simply conquer. Ladies and gentlemen, as we get ready to go into this, consider clicking the like button. And if you also want to support us, click on that Vacation Radio link down in the video description below. And here we go. John, I think that the Olympics is not the ratings darling that they are suggesting it is. In fact, I think it's an entire psyop in the media, and I think the ratings are bumpkus. And the reason that I think that is because I believe that they're trying to whitewash, they're trying to bleach the situation with the Last Supper and with the boxing and all of that. I don't think they want you to know how unpopular all of that is. And so what we're going to do in this video is I'm going to show folks. So you stick around, ladies and gentlemen. I am going to show you the proof that this Olympics is not what they say it is. First, as we get started, John, we're going to take a look at this. That's out of frontofficesports.com. And we've never featured this website before, and they may hate our guts after it, but I want to show this. And hopefully we'll get to come back another time and do an article we agree with, but it says, 5 reasons the Olympics are must-see TV again. And it lists these things out. It's by Michael McCarthy. Apologies, Mr. McCarthy. I suspect you are a tremendous writer, and I can't wait to cover your stuff in the future. Here are the reasons. A dream setting. It's in Paris, so it's the City of Lights. Coverage like never before. Amazing. Compelling weekday lineups. What's that, John?
Yeah, I don't know if you saw this, but there were literally athletes vomiting because of the pollution in the Seine after they forced them to swim in it. I saw
Paris
that
is not. Listen, I've been to Paris. Paris is not what it's sold to be once you get out of the tourist sections. I'm not trying to be mean to the Parisians out there. We love you, but not all is bon. Compelling weekday lineups, meh. Abundance of superstar athletes, meh. Year-long marketing blitz, don't care. I don't think any of it's real. So here's what we've got. Out of Sportico, NBC begins selling off-bonus ad units as Olympics ratings soar. Take a look at this. Let's read this one. It says, having surpassed its ratings expectations thus far in the 2024 Paris Olympics, NBC Universal has begun selling off some of the advertising inventory that had been held back as a hedge against potential under-deliveries. In other words, they thought it was going to be doing poorly. Now they say it's not. Speaking from Paris during a Thursday morning media scrum, Mark Lazarus, chairman of NBC Universal Media Group, confirmed the company is freeing up some of the commercial spots that were stashed away for use as ADUs, industry shorthand for audience deficiency units. While the floodgates haven't been thrown open quite yet, the early sales trickle suggests that NBCU may be positioned to build on what it's already heralded as a record Olympics revenue figure. Now, let's just go down a little bit because I want to draw people's attention to this, okay? Through the first 5 days of the Paris Games, a span which includes Friday's opening ceremony, NBCU is averaging approximately 33.8 million views across all TV and streaming platforms, which marks an improvement of 79% compared to this stage of the 2021 Summer Olympics in Tokyo, which we should say was in 2021 at a time when people were still, in many states of the United States, stuck at home, not able to go out to restaurants, bars, etc. And that'll come back in a big way in just a moment. The biggest turnout thus far was notched on Sunday, as the combined deliveries for the live afternoon coverage and the traditional primetime broadcast averaged 41.5 million views. Hang on to that. We'll come back to it in just a moment. John, is it your suspicion? Have you noticed anything that would suggest to you the Olympics are bigger this year than ever before? Like, are you feeling a buzz in the air? What do you make of this?
So I'm actually seeing kind of the opposite. There's almost a what is the word? There's an apathy towards it rather than, or even an active dislike or disinterest towards it rather than any kind of hype.
Well, there's a great effort, I would say, underway to make us believe that the woke Olympics are very popular, that the Last Supper did no damage. Those zany, crazy Christians, they don't know what they're talking about. Nobody cares about this. And, bearded people of interesting facial hair growth, well, that doesn't matter. And, oh, yeah, the boxing where, well, we won't go into it, folks, lest we get struck down. But let's just say women are getting struck down. And that's controversial. John, I think there's a huge effort to make these Olympics appear much more successful than they are. And I think I've got the proof. Let me show it to you. Same website we were just on, later on in the article. Highlighted, folks, should NBCU auction off its insurance units as aggressively as it did in London, it could walk away from the City of Lights, that's Paris, with some $1.45 billion in sales, which sounds impressive until you realize that these Olympics take place over about 17 days, which, as it happens, is what it paid for the rights to host the Paris Games. Let me say this again. We have been told, John, that these ratings are there to the moon. 70% increase over the last Olympics. People are flooding back to watch. No one cares about the woke. They love it. And what does this say right here? Ignore all that other stuff for a moment. If they sell as aggressively, so in other words, if best case scenario for NBC, break even. What it paid for the rights to host the Paris Games, if they have the best case scenario, they're only going to break even. Now, John, I don't think that the people who run NBC are complete idiots. So I don't think that they bought this at a price that said you have to have record-breaking, insanely good numbers, or else you'll have no chance to even break even. I think that's craziness. So something here doesn't add up. If it's so good, then why are they only breaking even, which is not even close to a return on investment? What do you make of this?
Well, I think this is very clear here. It sounds like they're actually operating in the red here. They're not actually bringing in money as much as what they need to break even, because it says they have to aggressively sell in order to break even. And they had all of these, what do they call them? DAU units or whatever they're describing them as there. Yeah, the ADUs. They're having to roll those out in order to try and aggressively sell those, right? Which means that they weren't even, it was not even going to break even to begin with. So I think you're right. I think this is not a good look. It doesn't look like they are as popular as what they are, and I think they kind of just told on themselves there.
I think so. So how is this happening? Boy, don't people love coming to these videos when we explain what's happening here, folks. This is just so much fun, isn't it? When we peer behind the veil and figure out what's actually going on. And by the way, I think the mainstream press at this point, they are the ministry of mistruths. They just spin tales, and if they say it, you probably shouldn't believe it. That's where I am now. I'm so sick and tired of the media giving us stuff that if you look behind and start doing some research, you figure out it's not true. So here's what might be going on. This is out of WrestlingInc.com. It's by Mark Middleton. It says Nielsen is making big changes to how TV viewers are counted. Now, this is back from 2020. It's just prior to the 2021 Olympics. This matters, and I remembered this because I was still in the business of paying attention to entertainment back then. And I remember this was a big story for me because this was sort of used to make the Super Bowl numbers look bigger than they were. Let me show you how this works, okay? And this is going to make a lot of sense for why the ratings are being suggested to be so much higher this year. It says there is expected to be major ratings in TV ratings moving forward. Should say a major ratings boost, especially involving sports, as Nielsen begins counting out-of-home viewership. Pay attention to that, folks. Viewers will now be counted from places such as bars, restaurants, and airports. Viewers will also be counted if they take their mobile devices from the home and use those to watch. The latest Nielsen tool is supposed to make a huge change in sports ratings moving forward, particularly major sporting events and generally for the NFL, according to F4WOnline.com. WWE and AEW will also be affected, but likely in a much smaller manner. But, ladies and gentlemen, the Olympics would definitely count in this. Nielsen will reportedly measure, we're going into this next paragraph, Nielsen will reportedly measure out-of-home viewership via a beeper-like device carried by people who are in Nielsen's measurement sample. The device will capture and recognize the audio of what people are watching away from their homes. Folks, if you believe that for 1 second, I have a bridge over a huge, vast area of water in Kansas to sell you. If you believe for one moment that a little doohickey beeper device is picking up the audio and determining the crowd size and what's being watched around these folks.
Well,
but
if you go
what?
to can I just interject? Right, if you go to a bar, usually, or sports bar specifically, they have multiple TVs with different things on, and usually maybe only one section has the volume, and half the time they don't even have the volume on. It's some kind of music playing. So what?
Exactly.
How do they track that?
It's nonsense. That's what I think it is, and I'm allowed to have that opinion because I live in the United States. Sorry, Nielsen. Sorry, NBC.
Plus, if you're in a bar, well, hold on. Plus, if you're in a bar or an airport or any of these busy places, people are going to be talking over top of whatever's playing as well. You're not going to be able to figure out what that is through audio. That's utterly ridiculous.
Exactly. It's farcical. And so these numbers were being given. And by the way, this is mainly only used in sports. Okay. So the ratings for your regular entertainment still seems to be accurate. The numbers for sports, well, if you think this is accurately reading the numbers, then as I said, bridge, we've got one. Take a look. Nielsen is still doing this. Over here on Nielsen.com, it says, Nielsen U.S. national TV data is the currency of choice for media buyers and sellers. Now, that is important. Who do we think is determining the ratings for the Olympics for NBC? Nielsen. They're the choice for media buyers and sellers because we understand that measurement needs to work for everyone and measure everybody everywhere. Our proprietary technology can identify viewing that occurs on each TV in and out of the home, including viewing that occurs at airports, doctors' offices, hotels, bars, and restaurants. We also measure when audiences are watching, whether it's live or recorded program via video on demand, delivering accurate measurement across all platforms and devices. John, you ready for the coup de resistance when it comes to explaining what's going on here?
Hit me.
2021, John, we all got hit with something in 2021. 2020, the whole world was locked down. In 2021, a lot of stuff still was not open. That includes bars. 2021, the summer of, I got a feeling New York, California, and other places, kind of hard to go sit at a bar and watch sports. So you know what I think's happening here? I think that we are comparing the Tokyo Olympics, where they didn't get to measure bars like Buffalo Wild Wings and all that stuff, you know, your sports bars and everything, and airports, air travel was down. People were terrified to get on an airplane. They weren't using the airports. I think that where the numbers are getting, in my estimation, fudged is that now we've automatically added these bars and these airports and all of this stuff, and I'm not sure that it's indicative of actual extra viewership. In just a moment, we'll show how ridiculous these numbers get. But John, your thoughts on that? I mean, do you think this might be the case, having seen the data and the information?
I think that's definitely possible for sure. Obviously, I feel like there's just so many room for error here. It's hard to actually kind of track a lot of this stuff. That whole idea using that beeper thing is just, I mean, I'm still kind of just like baffled how that actually works and how they were trying to sell it. I'm like,
it's crazy that they say it out loud.
Yeah. So I definitely feel like there's obviously some shenanigans happening because we saw the backlash against the Olympics was furious. There were so many people doing that, and you could actually see that, track that on X. probably on other social media platforms as well, seeing the impressions that people got. I mean, you could see that people were not happy with this, and the number of people that were saying that we're not going to watch this, and lots of people continue to say that they're not going to watch it. Whether or not they followed through with that is another story. But I think the fact that we see a lot of these people saying that they're not going to do it, I think you can probably say that, take them at their word that they're not going to do that. And so then to claim that there's all these like massive numbers, it's a little hard to believe. It's what I'm seeing in reality is not what the data is trying to tell me that reality is, right?
John, one more dive into their nonsense. And remember, I think a lot of this has to do with trying to prove that the Last Supper and the boxing situation, that they're no big deal. If we go back, all the way back, folks, we love hitting the Wayback Machine, especially when it brings the receipts, and this one does. Mike O'Connell, the author here over at THR, that's the Hollywood Reporter. Olympics 2012 London Games rank as most watched event in human history, or U.S. history, excuse me. All right, so let's measure this, okay? We're going to scroll down. So the most viewed event in the U.S. history, and by the way, none of the Olympic Games has reached this level since, unless we're to believe that this year's are bigger. But take a look. After 17 days of coverage, this back again, 2012, after 17 days of coverage, which was the entirety of the Olympics, the Games took in a total of 219.4 million viewers, according to final Nielsen numbers through Sunday night's closing ceremony. Again, there's Nielsen, because Nielsen is who the industry uses. That makes it the most watched event in U.S. television history, topping the previous high of 215 million for the 2008 Beijing Olympics. Okay? 219 million. Hang on to that, folks. We're going to be right back to it, because take a look at this. Going back to Sportico now, reporting on these Olympics. Through the first 5 days of the Paris Games, that's this year, a span of which includes Friday's opening ceremony, NBCU is averaging approximately 33.8 million viewers across all TV and streaming platforms. Okay, so there's 17 days of the Olympics. So let's multiply, folks. If we take the full days, actually 19 days of Olympics this year, 19 days. So if there are 19 days of the Olympics, and the average is 33.8 million viewers, John, that's 642 million viewers. John, you know how many people are in the United States? Not 642 million viewers. And you might say, well, it's views this time. And if you say, well, it's views this time, that's fine and dandy with me. But now we've switched everything, because now we're measuring views, not viewers. And I think the whole kit and caboodle is a bunch of junk. That's what I think at this point. We are operating with numbers that aren't even mathematically possible.
Yeah, I mean, even if you do that 5-day average, you're looking at 169 million. 33.8 times 5 is 169 million. So they're already like almost, what is that? Probably like 80% or something like that, 75%.
Half the population of the United States. We're over 300 million.
Yeah. It's a little hard to believe. I definitely feel like there is definitely some fudging going on. We've seen this though. We've seen maybe not Nielsen, but we've seen with Rotten Tomatoes. They made massive changes to their platform following the release of Captain Marvel. We saw this with Rings of Power with IMDb, which is owned by Amazon. Obviously, Prime Video is the production company behind Rings of Power. They were delaying their reviews and manipulating the reviews for IMDb, as well as on the actual app as well. So this isn't unheard of. We've seen this happening over the past couple of years. Again, Captain Marvel 2019 Rotten Tomatoes. Rings of Power was just 2 years ago, I think, in 2022. So we've seen stuff like this happening. And then obviously with the Nielsen stuff, I feel like they're still trying to play catch up as well with a lot of the streaming stuff. I do think that they are probably still the best when it comes to that. But I think clearly here, they are opening themselves up to a lot of criticism and skepticism on what they are actually measuring here. I don't think these numbers add up at all to what they're telling us.
Well, 600 million people are watching this in the United States, a country of about 350 million people. So we've got more eyeballs than exist. And somehow NBC is going to break even in the best case scenario. So folks, I'm sorry, but breaking even in the best case scenario is failure. And you can spin it any way you want. I don't believe any of this viewership nonsense, because all I care about is How's it doing financially? And that's the one place they seem to have screwed up. And I want to give a huge shout out to the person who tipped me off to all this and said, hey, Pro, this 70% increase from Tokyo in 2021, you need to look into the bars. And I said, you know what? I remember something about this. So thank you for getting that tip over to me, because I swear I think that we're getting into absolute fuzzy numbers where they're counting. You know, if every bar in America has the Olympics playing, 12 hours a day, I'm sorry. That does not mean that someone is staring at them instead of eating their chicken wings. And it doesn't mean that there's a ton more interest than what we notice. And it doesn't mean that you can wipe away the controversies of the Olympics this year. That's not happening. NBC praying they can break even on this thing. John, final word.
Yeah, I think that it's not just Olympics, right? I think we see this throughout society. There's all these kind of like gaslighting campaigns where they try and tell you all of these numbers and all of this stuff to make you think that this is what it really is, even when you might have seen something like you can see like stadiums are empty. You can see that arenas are empty. You can see that there's massive backlash against this. You see that people are saying that they're not going to watch it. You're talking to your friends. They're not watching it. You are watching your favorite YouTuber like Kenny Wallace. He's saying, I'm not watching this stuff. You see all this evidence that's like people aren't watching this stuff. People aren't watching. And then here comes Nielsen, here comes NBC Universal, and they're going to try and say, oh, we have 3 times the U.S. population or 2 times the U.S. population has actually watched this already. It's like, no, I'm going to trust what my actual 5 senses are telling me, rather than these people that clearly have an interest in trying to lie to you to tell you what this stuff is. And again, it doesn't add up. It just does not make sense whatsoever. But this is what they do, right? It's a massive gaslighting campaign, and in order to really kind of see through this stuff, you have to be grounded. And the best way to do that is to kind of trust yourself and focus on yourself and like really kind of work on your conscious and being able to determine what is right and what is wrong.
Well, it doesn't hurt also to check out websites like www.thatparkplace.com, as well as subscribe to the Trent Report, where you can find out this kind of information, where we do the research and then put it before your eyes so that you see the receipts and go, you know what? These crazy guys have caught on to something. And we think we have here. Maybe in the comments below, you'll disagree, and we would love to hear your counter arguments if there are such. Heck, maybe somebody will disprove us and we can have a video on that. But John, in the meantime, tell the folks out there what they should expect over on the Trent Report.
Yeah, so we're actually looking into something similar here going on with Star Wars Outlaws. The Ubisoft seems to be running a kind of narrative campaign.
John, you know, listen, their statistics of 3 trillion players concurrently when it starts, that's going to be true. You know it. 4 trillion.
You know, they're going to spin it. They're going to try and do their best to spin this for sure. But what's actually happening is it looks like they've contracted a third party who is reviewing footage that they brought in these people to basically give these like let them play for 4 hours. And so this third party is reviewing these videos that people made based on that footage to determine whether or not it can be approved or not. So, and we had a German YouTube channel actually like expose that. So I got some more information on that. So we're going to be diving more into that this week.
Folks, if you hired somebody to build a house, you would hope they didn't lie 1/10 of the time that these people do, because it would destroy your home. I mean, you can't operate a world with this much deception. And so we got to take this back. And I don't mean any kind of violent thing. I literally mean we just got to tell the truth. And we got to do that fervently, because the world cannot operate with people misunderstanding what's really going on to this degree. It's insanity. It's just flat out insanity. Anyway, folks, I can tell you this week we're going to have a daily dose of sanity. It's a big week because guess what? Tomorrow we've got the Pro Show. We're going to be previewing the Disney earnings call. Then the next day, Valiant Renegade will be starting at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. This is Wednesday with the Disney earnings call. If there is major breaking news, then after that, we may go live here. In fact, all this week, we are on standby to go live should we need to with all the Disney news we anticipate, possibly even a CEO announcement for a replacement to Bob Iger. We don't know that yet, but it could be happening. D23, the Disney Expo, is coming up on the weekend, and so we will once again be ready to go live, although we have not sent a reporter there because, well, Chris Gore is already going to be there, and we think that's enough punishment for our community So, Chris, we apologize, but you enjoy the mouse and all of his mousy inhabitants. So, folks, you need to stay right here with this channel. Whether or not there are notifications, you check back thrice a day, and see if we've got some more nice content on the way. All right, folks, as we get ready to say goodbye, consider clicking the like button, share, subscribe, click it, stick it to the algorithms. It is the notification bell. Drop a comment right on down below. Let us know your thoughts. And folks, as we say at the end of every single one of these videos, and we do it because we mean it, keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.
Wilton, what are you doing?
Well, I was feeling really behind and uneducated on all the happenings in the entertainment world. So, I was trying to work out a solution, specifically around 12 p.m. Eastern Time. And, well, this is what I came to.
That's not what that means.
Oh.
But, why wouldn't you just watch Midnight's Edge on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays? And on Tuesdays, on WDW Pro's channel, you got the Pro Show, and on Thursdays, you got That Park Place with Jonas and Vash.
Jonas? That guy sucks.
Well, feel free to jump in the chat and remind him of that regularly.
I won't feel free. I am free, baby. But I think you forgot something important.
What's that?
On Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, there's something really special that happens on Floral from Under a Rock.
Ah, right.
Under a Rock, where we don't simply talk about entertainment, we actually try to be the entertainment. Which, I mean, Floral, you're actually kind of dragging the show down, you know what I mean?
Well, theoretically, you and everyone else knows now what's happening at 12 Eastern Time throughout the week.
Yep. Now, just a point of clarity. You say 12 p.m. Eastern Time that the Midnight Edge will be happening. Is Tom gonna commit to being on time?
Well, that's a fair question.
Okay.